Hello dear students, welcome back to EduHunt video lecture series. We have finished Module 1 and now we are entering the second module. And the second module starts with the neural coordination. Neural coordination. Control and coordination. Neural coordination. What all this? Coordination is nothing but there is a synergy, there is a collective work, collective action in the body. And what is the center for that collective action of all the organs of the body? Yes, you are right. That is brain. So in this session, we are going to deal with the brain, various parts, how it controls other activities of the body. Let us begin. Let us start neural control and coordination. Neural control is nothing but there is a control over the different cells, tissues and organs of the body. And which controls? We know that brain only controls, but in brain there are several regions. Which is a unit of control? That is neuron. Neuron is the unit of control that is commonly called as nerve cell. Neuron is nothing but nerve cell. Nerve cell is neuron which controls the coordination, nervous or neural coordination. It starts here. This is the main center and this is a nerve cell. Without knowing the structure of nerve cell, we cannot proceed further. We know that the entire control takes place in the brain. And not only the brain extends to the trunk via neck in the form of a spinal cord. Yes. And for the protection of brain and spinal cord, we have cranium, the brain box, and vertebral column. The vertebrae surrounding the spinal cord, they protect the spinal cord. And the nerves emerge from brain and vertebral column. All these systems, all these structures that emerge from the brain and the spinal cord, they form a system called nervous system. And we categorize the nervous system into central nervous system, peripheral nervous system and autonomous nervous system. In the next class, we will see different nervous systems. In this session, we describe, we explain or we know the details of a neuron or a nerve cell. This is the nerve cell and it has two main parts. One is the cell body called the cyton. Cyton, also called as the cell body, and the extension of the cell body, the fibrous part of the cell body is called the axon. There are two parts in the neuron. One is the cyton, which is a cell body, and axon, which is a tail-like extension of the cyton. And all the nerve cells are connected from one another. And the signals are carried from one nerve to the another. And that is called the transmission, neural transmission, and depolarization takes place while the transmission takes place. And this is the nucleus, which is very large, prominent, and the cytoplasm is dense, and the extensions of the cell body, the fibrous extensions, the branched fibrous extensions of the cell body are called dendrites, and they receive the signals. And the axon, which is surrounded by a sheath called the myelin sheath, and there are node-like structures called the nodes of Ranvier, and all these structures appear in the axon. And the axon terminates in fibers called the axon terminals, and these axon terminals have a connection with the succeeding neuron dendrites, and the junction is called the synapse. The junction between the nerve ends of the previous one and the dendrites of the succeeding nerve. This junction is called the synapse, where the chemicals are secreted, and nerve impulse is carried from one nerve to the another, one neuron to another. And this is the structure in brief about the cyton, which is a body of the cell or body of the neuron, which extends in the form of a fiber called the axon, and the axon has a layer called the myelin sheath, and it has nodes of Ranvier, and the axon terminates in the form of fibrous terminals ends called the axon terminals, and each axon terminal has a knob-like structure called the synaptic knob, and the synapse is the junction between the axon terminals of the previous nerve and the previous neuron and the dendrites of the next neuron. Anyway, these nerves, these neurons carry the signals. This is called the transmission of signals, and the transmission is known as the chemical transmission, because some chemicals called the neurotransmitters are nothing but chemicals which initiate the nerve impulse and carry nerve impulse. These are very, very important in nervous system. And in the nervous system, there is a brain, and the brain that is present in the cranium, that is the brain box, has several regions called the frontal lobe. It is differentiated into several lobes like frontal lobe, temporal lobe, and cerebellum, occipital lobe, and parietal lobe. These are the various regions of the brain, and the brain extends like a snake. We call in Telugu we call it as vennupamu. So it extends like a cord called the spinal cord. So the spinal cord and brain together constitute the nervous system. In the central nervous system, brain and the spinal cord, they form the central nervous system, and the peripheral nervous system is formed by the what we call the nerves from the brain and also nerves from the spinal cord. They together make up the peripheral nervous system. Central nervous system is CNS and peripheral nervous system is PNS and autonomous nervous system ANS. So these are the different types of nervous systems. And in the next session, we are going to learn how the signals are transmitted.